this?
And it rides degrees on Monday, and it was up from, and the windshield was minus 25 degrees. I go to Cannon every Tuesday morning in Lake Success. We had no heat in our house again. I made a meatless meat pie. It was delicious. I made my own burger out of oatmeal and cheese and what else? Oh yeah, some wheatina and potatoes and carrots and pie crust on the bottom, pie crust on the top. And Thursday it was like summer and spring. It was 50 degrees. I got the sewing done. I sewed the ruffle in the dining room curtain, and these gloves are painful. So much. Somebody would wash my clothes in Manhattan and call me up, and we've been great friends. Richard Einhorn and Becky Carley and Ray Jameson. And then I told you about being up all night. Okay. So we're getting around to reading this. Oh, and Hofstadter, I didn't tell you the stats on that. $1,806, 69 cents in printing, and postage 847 and a half hours. Also rip-off course stenography. 800 hours to defend America against the law-breaking, lying, and covering up. So that $211,875 worth of legal labor, 92 TV reports, 2,448 pages, 1.5 file drawers, 19 volumes, 70 weeks, and 114. Okay. I think all of the announcements are done. Anything you want the public to know, you call me, we'll talk about it. This is the 39th volume on Magnus Malone and Telecommunications Incorporated, not letting them get away. Affirmation by plaintiff Glendora in opposition to dismissing her third free speech case against Magnus Malone and Telecommunications Incorporated. Part 1. Glendora. Case cannot be dismissed pursuant to the Second Circuit order of January the 11th, 1995, which says that it is a well-settled rule, particularly applicable to pro se civil rights cases, that a complaint cannot be dismissed unless it appears beyond doubt that the plaintiff can prove no set of facts in support of her claim, which would entitle her to relief. So they can dismiss my case. Now, Crooked Rakoff and Crooked Fox overruled the Second Circuit, their bosses, on that. And now Glendora begins to refute every word of the lying, stealing, cheating of officer of the courts, Corny Koenig. Judiciary Law, Volume 2, New York statute says a judge should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary. These are canons, judicial canons, not the canon. A judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all of his activities. A judge should perform the duties of his office impartially and diligently. Point 4. J. N. Kearney gives no proof after being asked 30 times for it that he represents my defendants. This court is dishonest to cover up for Kearney. There is no way Glendore's case can be dismissed unless there is a fix, unless there is bias, prejudice, and animus prevails, and unless America is betrayed by judges again. What Corny Koenig presents here as a paper to dismiss is frivolous. It is smothered with lies. Janice Rakoff and Mark D. Fox are being dishonest. Mark D. Fox is not the designated magistrate. Margaret Lisa Smith is. Glendora has said so 6 times. No wonder the public loses confidence in the courts. Glendora has already shown your judgeships. Connor, Rakoff, Jones, Parker, Fox cannot rule on the law, the merits, and the facts. You rule on self-interest, not on what is right for your country. M.D. Fox was graduated from the State University of New York at Albany. J. N. Kearney is officed in Albany. The 7th request that M.D. Fox recuse himself. Here is a business card that the public access coordinator, Darrell Stitt, used to have at our public access studio, which we were robbed of on Halloween night. 222 Menard. This is some of what Bob Magnus murdered Halloween 1996. Spooky, dark, ghostly, ghoulish graveyard. And it was just 3 weeks before he went to his own grave. The notice of Magnus, Malone, and telecommunication and all was greed, financial distress, desperation, and these newspaper articles are proof. And so is the stock, dropping from $18 a share to $11 a share. This is a $7 billion company. Here is an article, and here's a picture of John Malone. And this article was in the Wall Street Journal. It was sent to me by Brian Gray. And it was on January the 2nd. TCI's expansion, folks, isn't working. Malone says TCI push into telephones, internet isn't working for now. The hype exceeded feasibility, so the cable company opts to return to its roots. We were chasing too many rabbits. We shouldn't have been chasing any rabbits. So it says here, and I want you to have a picture of this in your home, that Malone says, I'll take the blame. So you hear that, Judge Rakoff, and you hear that, Judge Fox, and don't you give me any cable system here in Westchester that made the decision to rob us of our public access. No way. It came from Malone and Magnus. Now, here are some other newspapers showing the financial straits that TCI is in. TCI strives to ease jitters among wary cable investigators. TCI tries to ease Wall Street, but concerns persist. So you see, TCI is in deep financial trouble. That is their motive for robbing us of public access, to get the money and to use our channel to advertise pay-per-view. The cable giant loses its way and finds recovery difficult. Recovery proves difficult for cable giants. Couldn't happen to nicer people. Malone, Magnus, and Telecommunications Incorporated, their crooked lawyers, Ben Wiles, Corny Koenig, and Bertram Purple, and Ann Salisbury. This is a picture and a story in the New York Times. You see all those people marching down the street? What are they marching against? Bad judges. Bad judges. Glendora just got home from church. Now that's something. Malone, Magnus, et al., and crooked lawyers and judges have not been able to rob Glendora off. They've robbed us of trials, of rights, of our defendants. They've robbed us of due process, but this is one thing they haven't robbed us of. We still go to church every Sunday, and all of the praying is up to date too, done all the other days of the week. Anyway, but let me tell you, I'm writing to Judge Rakoff and Judge Fox. But let me tell you, it's rough to sit down and write this paper 10 hours so far and spend all of this money on printing when you don't have money, and all of this time when you know you are before two judges who are going to give you the shaft. Koenig's January the 23rd, 1997 paper is a Lilliputian treatment of a Brobdingnagian issue. This is serious business in America. Free speech. Regardless, Glendora has the last word on TV. You don't. J.N. Koenig deceives again. Nothing he says in his letter brief as basis for motion to dismiss appears in the said motion. Note please that the Civil Justice Reform Act of 1990 required each United States District Court to implement a civil justice expense and delay reduction plan that would facilitate deliberate adjudication of civil cases on the merits. They seem to have forgotten it. They don't adjudicate on the merits, they don't adjudicate. They rule on what's best for the judges and their buddies. Remember, Glendora showed you in a letter brief that her cable TV bill says she has a private right of action by the Cable Act of 1984. You have a private right of action to sue a cable company. That's in the Cable Act of 1984. It should be in the back of your bill. It should tell you that. Here is the truth. J.N. Koenig is covering up what the supervisors say about public access originating from them. No way, Jose. You cannot, they all said that the local municipalities will cable cash their programs, and the local municipality says, no, we will not. We cannot. So it's a lie, but it's a lie readily believed by Rakoff and by Fox. Sussman is right how TCI lied to everybody, and so did Mark D. Fox and Jed S. Rakoff and Ralph Winter. Read these letters verbatim. This time, do not ignore them. The municipalities carrying our public access from Channel 8 is a lie. And here are all these letters from the municipalities. This tells you the worst man of all, Scott Brown, and how he came up with this fiendish plan to murder public access, and then went on and deceived the municipalities when they signed their franchise. Now, here is another letter from an interim manager called John Wicker, and here is the town of Eastchester telling them that in no way do they have the capacity to cablecast the public access programs that Malone robbed off of Channel 8, the system-wide public access channel, and also robbed our TV production, which is what this instant lawsuit, Glendora versus Magnus, is all about. Look at this, letter after letter after letter. Paul Feiner, he's going to write an amicus brief in our behalf. and all saying that TCI is lying, and all saying that TCI deceived them when they signed the franchise, because they all assumed that system-wide public access Channel 8 was going to go on forever, and that the editing at White Plains was going to go on forever. And see, all of these people saying that TCI, Malone, and Magnus deceived them, and seeing that Rakoff and Fox have deceived us and have deliberately acted crooked. Village of Hastings on Hudson, Scarsdale Village Hall. I read the stats. Those stats I've already read to you. I show them here to Rakoff. And then I go through every word that Koenig writes, okay? And I refute it, and I set the record straight. See that everything, these are the lies that he has told. Then, at great length, I quote Sussman. Sussman sued TCI. He's a public access producer. And this is his, they did the same thing to him. They made a motion to dismiss his cases before Judge Bryant. And Sussman's opposition to dismissing his case is superb. He's a very good writer. And so I quoted, not quoted, I reproduced what he said at great length. So how many pages is this? It's 132 pages. The copying cost is $53. The hours are 18 and a half hours. And that's what you go through because we have such unqualified judges in the United States District Court who do not look out for our rights and do not. Now, Koenig also included the old franchise from the city of New Rochelle and the new franchise from the city of New Rochelle. And I am going to do a whole lot with that, and I think Brian Sussman is too. He lives in New Rochelle. He also included the outrageous decision of Judge Dorsey, Chief Judge of the District of Connecticut. Sussman did a very good job refuting that, and so I included that in my affirmation in opposition to dismiss. And so here are these franchise agreements. So there's a whole lot to be done there. Paul Pinus said that send me a copy of your affirmation not to dismiss, and I will help you. I will write a letter in support of you. He said that in regard to the United States District Court, where I am appealing Rakoff's decision that it's okay to murder public access. It's okay to murder public access. Anything else going on with TCI? I don't think so. I think they're all up to date. We've got all of the stats. I might read you a paragraph or two from a book put out by the Federal Judicial Center, The Federal Appellate Judiciary in the 21st Century. Frankly, I don't think they can last that long. You know what the United States Court of Appeals is? That's where the elite eat cheap. So, maybe I'll read you a few paragraphs of that, okay? Let me get this thing. Now you should. Folks, we're all done with our reports to you today. We've had two technical problems. I apologize to you about them. It's my unfamiliarity with the Canon E63 or E61. And I can't figure out how to get this panoramic mic out of the socket and plug in my own mic, which is close enough, so that the audio is back. And my new $80 lamp, projection light lamp, 600 watts, all of a sudden, and I had to put in my old one. So there's a couple of technical difficulties, but nevertheless, let's find you some jokes. And then I'm going to read you from this black and white book. Oh, and I gotta go find you Penny Cat and Katie Cat. How do you make the judge laugh on Monday? You tell him a joke on Friday. And John said his son is not so bright. He took a group of 19 friends to the movies because the sign outside said 18 and under not admitted. And his son also saved up $45 for a rock concert because he heard that tickets were $20 in advance and $25 at the door. Mary asked the travel agent, how long does it take to fly to Rome? And the agent says, just a minute. Mary says, that's not bad. Gloria told her husband they should move to a more expensive apartment, and her husband told her, well, just wait a while, the landlord will raise the rent here. And Uncle John helped the young couple name their twins. And what did you name them? He says, well, I named the girl Denise, and I named the nephew, and I named the boy the nephew. So why is the average age of a policeman 37? You know why? They like to get them fresh out of high school. And the nervous father in the maternity ward said to another man in the maternity ward, here, have a cigar. And the other man says, oh, congratulations, is it a boy or girl? And the new father says, I don't know one cigar from another. So, I thought it was rather interesting, the thing called the Judicial Conference of the United States to try to keep judges straight, but of course that's a hopeless job. And I thought it was kind of interesting, these pages are infections, they're stuck on each other. This is an old book. It's 1988. But this is the Judicial Conference of the United States. And those are the people on it. And is there anybody there that we know? Chief Judge John T. Curtin from Buffalo. Franklin knew him when Franklin was a reporter on the Buffalo News. The Executive Committee. And the Committee on the Administrative Office. And the Committee on the Administration of the Bankruptcy System, if you can call it a system. And the Committee on the Bicentennial of the Constitution, and the Committee on the Budget, and the Committee on the Codes of Conduct. Ah, there's a good one. Let's send all of these Judge Bryant complaints, Judge Fox, Judge Rakoff, Judge Parker, send all of those complaints to them. The Committee on Court Security, and you've got to get rid of stealing people's audio tape recorders from them. The Committee on Federal State Jurisdiction, and the Committee on International Appellate Judges Conference, Committee on the Judicial Branch, and Committee on Judicial Ethics. Now there's a good committee. Is there anybody in there that we know? And of course, who's on the committees? More judges. See? They're all covering up for the buddies. It's all an old boys network. Are there any citizens on there like you and me? No. Committee on Judicial Resources. The Committee on Administration of the Magistrates. Well, we're just going to send them all our papers about Magistrate Mark S. Fox. Committee on Review, Circuit Council Conduct, and Disability Orders. Committee on this one. Advisory Committee on Civil Rules. That's the Civil Rules of Federal Procedure. I think the rules are wonderful. I just think the law reads beautifully. Where does it get all mixed up? When a judge has something to do with it. Committee on Space and Facilities. Is that outer space? And here's the additional committees of the Judicial Conference of the United States. The Hope Committee on Cameras in the Courtroom. Now I got to activate on that one, right? Cabranes is on that committee. Remember me telling you about Cabranes? He's a bad judge. He doesn't rule on the laws, the facts, the merits. So that's this book. Yeah, so I like telling you about it. Well, let's see if Franklin wants to see me again. You want to see me? Sure. What are you going to see? I would be true?
Yes, you will.
Okay, that would be nice. I would be true. A congregational minister wrote this hymn, folks. And that was in the back seat of a taxi cab. And she said to the driver, will you back up for a mile and a half? And the driver said, why? She says, I don't have enough to pay for the fare. And have you heard about the gardener's exercise plan, folks? To stay in shape. You start out fresh as a daisy and you end up bush. And then Billy's father said to him, I don't care if in our basement the wall is cracked. I want you to stop telling people you come from a broken family. Okay, are you ready, Franklin?
Yeah.
Okie doke. Here's Franklin Buell to sing you and him. There isn't any close-up microphone, as you know. I'll turn the light off. You'll feel better. Hurt your eyes. Yep.
Ready?
Ready? Everybody's ready. Aren't we, folks? Yep, we're okay. We're all ready. You want a pitch pipe?
No.
Poor fellow, you haven't even had a chance to rehearse it. Okay.
I would be true, for there are those who trust me. I would be pure, for there are those who care. I would be strong, for there is much to suffer. I would be brave, for there is much to dare. I would be brave, for there is much to dare.
It makes no sense. It is a cover-up. Get the... in front of a jury. That's when they panicked so badly that they twisted and corrupted and did everything they possibly could to somehow corrupt Judge Bryant and to keep this trial from happening. That's what really hit them. And it's been nothing but a stall ever since. And Glendore has been pounding on the doors of justice, where justice has been murdered, saying, you have to go through it. You have to have a trial of these people. I won, and I have a right to a trial. Rule 38 and the 7th Amendment of the United States Constitution. All the suspect reasons Charles L. Bryant gave to stay Glendore's trial, he had already ruled on July 19, 1995 in her favor. Doesn't this strike you as mighty peculiar to stay Glendore's trial? It was a federal question. Why did he relegate the case to state court? Other than the fact that Charles L. Bryant will dump cases wherever he can to get rid of his caseload, other than that, rather superficial fact, you have the very profound and evil fact that he did it to somehow protect Cablevision for some kind of self-interest, for some kind of reward. It was a federal question. Why did he relegate the case to state court? What was his real motive? Who got to it? Look at his illiterate order of the Mafia Acting Second Department. What warrants staying a trial in federal court? What is there in this awkward and contrived, baseless and garbled decision of the Second Department that stops Glendore's trial? Nothing. Charles Bryant was looking for an excuse to stay Glendore's trial and desperately clasped this decision of the Appellate Division. What was and is Charles Bryant's motive? Before J. Bryant is a federal question, and it had been, and still is, since December 6, 1993. So Glendora calls for a conference with Donald Silverman, New York Supreme so-called court, so-called March 11, 1996, a week after Callaghan raised issues he said Silverman had not given him a chance to raise. Well, if you don't raise something in the lower court, then you can't appeal it in the so-called higher court. And he had no grounds for review. He didn't raise these issues in the Silverman court, in the Supreme County Court of Westchester. He didn't raise them. And so how can you raise them in the Appellate Division? And Attorney Callaghan lies. The issues he brought before the Appellate Division Second Department, he had no grounds for review because he had not raised them before Silverman in the lower court. This is just as Callaghan lied to Charles Bryant that the Appellate Division reversed Judge Silverman's decision to put Glendore back on duty. They never reversed it. Never. But he lied that. And Bryant picks up the lie. And now I don't believe that this was stupidity on Bryant's part. I think it was planned. I think it was premeditated. The Appellate Division did not reverse J. Silverman's decision, and Charles L. Bryant repeated the lie, and the Appellate Division did not reverse Donald Silverman's decision. They told him to look it over again, and translated this is, get yourself away, to get out of it. We don't want Glendore's reporting on us anymore in Nassau Republican land. And it was Charles L. Bryant who told Attorney Callaghan, March the 30th, 1995, that he did not care about the Appellate Division. I'm under the mandate of our Court of Appeal to resolve this case that is before me. This is in the minutes. That was on March the 30th, 1995. the minute that Cablevision Systems Corporation and Dolan, Todd, and Quinn received those subpoenas, they realized they had to come to Westchester and they had to stand trial, and they had to sit in the witness box and be questioned by me and in front of a jury. And that was the thing that they were going to avoid at all costs. They were scared stiff. So they pulled all the strings that they could and got Brian to stay the trial. It's obvious that that's what happened. The people who see these things and who make these things happen in our society today know exactly how this happened and how it was arranged and how it was manipulated. So I'm going to read you the rest of that appellant's brief, which is 50 pages, where it argues the law and it argues the facts and it argues on the merits. But this has nothing to do with it. Nothing. The courts aren't run that way. The courts are run by Machiavellian machinations, and they're run by evil, and they're run by deal. They have nothing to do with justice. The courts have no concern with justice, and that's why they have lost the confidence of the public. My poor tree. I guess it's too close. That's the tree that somebody threw away, died. A miserable death, and we pulled it out of it was in its pot in the field. Somebody's thrown it in the field and it's scooping it. They had no right to dump on somebody else's property. And the second thing is to murder the tree. So we brought it in. And look what it has come to be. And you're not only seeing but maybe a third of it. All right. So I'm going to read you those 50 pages of argument, I hope. Maybe 25 pages next week, and maybe 25 pages a week after, about this terrible thing that happened in America today. Unbelievable. I didn't tell you about the Cablevision shareholder, Glendora shareholder versus the board of directors of Cablevision. That's in the Eastern District. There's no word on that. Motion is before Judge Spat. To grant Glendora informal property. As far as the Cablevision derivative action, that's going to be argued this Friday at 2 p.m. before Judge Stein in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Forward Square. You know that I have opposed that settlement, which would give $1 million for Sandler and Associates who had inside information and sold stock with that inside information, violated the Securities Exchange Act 1934, that deal is worth a whole lot more than $1 million to Cablevision shareholders. So I'm opposed to it, but I'm particularly opposed to the 40% that the lawyers are going to get of that deal. So that will be argued before Judge Stein, and I'll come back and report that to you next week. What other Cablevision lawsuits are there? We still have the one where Cablevision is trying to prevent me from making shareholders proposal every way that they can. Of course, they will try to prevent my being an elected director of the Cablevision Systems Corporation. There may be some announcements here and there about Cablevision as I go through the announcements. I want to report to you about Continental, Glendora versus Hofstetter, McCormick, Lillis, DeLorme's flyer. On Continental, I called Judge Smith. She's a magistrate judge. I should call her magistrate. Magistrate Lisa Margaret Smith. I called her chambers and I talked to Miss Bates. And no, there's no decision yet, but it is top priority. It's before the judge, and she is actively considering it. And this has been before Lisa Margaret Smith this July 4th. And here this is January 7th, another year, 1997. 1996, July 4th. And there's a rule out there that a judge has 6 months to decide a motion after it's fully submitted. And I haven't pulled that one yet. But you and I are thinking about that. And we should. It's a motion for summary judgment. And what Continental Cablevision did was rob us of every other Saturday. Our program was on every other Saturday. For a very stupid thing to do, Diane Rainey decided to put the program on every other Saturday and let somebody else be on there, violating all of the laws that Cablevision public access is first come, first served, and you don't take somebody who was first come and make them second. So we'll let that one rest for this week, the week of February 3rd, 1997. We thank God for our weather. It's 50 degrees, and it was 50 degrees yesterday. It was sunny. It was just like spring. We've had a wonderful, wonderful winter. We had only one storm, and I think that was on New Year's Eve of 1996. I don't think we've had any snow in 1997. And we had one night when it went down to 4 degrees. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful winter. And Paul was telling about the day that he got a birdie on the 15th hole. And everybody thought that was wonderful. The problem is that he was playing a 16th hole. And one golfer made a terrible shot, and then he said, after a shot like that, I could jump in that pond over there and drown myself. And the partner says, no, no. No, you couldn't. You couldn't hold your head down long enough. And what's the difference between a teacher and a train? A teacher says, don't chew gum, and a train says, chew, chew, chew. For Judicial Accountability Incorporated saw a chat with Glendora on Monday night, January the 27th, and heard the audio tape in court of Judge Fox railroading the misrepresentation of Cohen, Dox, Koenig, Perkel of Baker and Botts, and Salisbury, saying that they represented Glendore's defendants in Glendore versus Magnus Malone Telecommunications Incorporated, and Glendore saying that that wasn't adequate. Judge Fox asked Koenig if he filed a notice of appearance, and Koenig's answer was not yes or no or direct. It was a lot of gobbledygook, and Fox railroaded that through. Let me tell you, Fox is in serious trouble. He's going to get in serious trouble over this. And the Center for Judicial Accountability said the rules are very clear as to the authority of an attorney to act as an agent, and when proof is demanded, as I demanded it on that audio tape that you heard, that proof must be presented. And so now the trip this afternoon will be to Carmody Waite on Volume 1, look up attorneys, and under that look up authority. An agent has to have authority to represent anybody. And so that's going to be a big tussle. It's going to be satellite litigation, and we're going to go after Fox, and Fox is really going to have to toe the line for accepting such misrepresentation and wanting it to be that way. This is U.S. Magistrate Judge Fox. It's the same thing he did on Glendora versus Malone. These people are not representing my defendants. They are misrepresenting my defendants. And they railroaded it through on that first suit against TCI, Glendora versus Malone, Magnus Telecommunications. Now they're trying to do it. And also Jones did it, and she's going to be in trouble too. And Rakoff's going to be in trouble because I intend to push them right to the wall. That they are letting these lawyers, so-called officers of the court, how can they be in such sleaze, misrepresent that they are representing my defendants. So we're going after Fox and Magnus and Rakoff and Perkel and Salisbury and Koenig and of course Ben Wiles, who lied, stole, and cheated for almost a year. He's finally out on his Fluius Maximus. So that's going to be another law paper to be written. Really going after these people to the hilt. You might think that the motivation of Charles O'Brien to do what he did, rob me of my Cablevision stolen Tata Quint trial once, but not, and twice, You might think it might be this mandate, where his decision was vacated and reversed. He was told, you're wrong, you do it over, by the United States Court of Appeals on Glendora versus Cablevision. And that happened on January 11th, 1995. You might think that's the motivation, but I hardly think it is. I think the motivation is, as I say, somebody got paid off. Because Owen Carter and Quinn and Cablevision did not want to go to trial, stand trial in front of a jury and be interrogated by Glendora. A judge should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary. A judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. A judge should perform the duties of his office impartially and diligently. Why are you ever done like that? Okay, just going through a couple announcements for you. This is group Gordon Burroughs died. Gordon Burroughs was a Supreme Court justice, so-called, in Westchester County. I found him to know nothing about the law or the facts or about the merits, and he ruled against when I stood up to Gannett for Gannett's putting our libelous, doing 3 libelous things against Glendora. Gordon Burroughs, of course, went with Gannett because of the dependence upon the Gannett newspaper for that political endorsement at election time in November. So we've covered these are jot thoughts. This is group 6, group 7. This is group 8. Next week we'll talk to you about group 1, 2, and 3. Oh yes, you know, I've got to play you A Mighty Fortress Is Our God, because this fits the judges perfectly. For still our ancient foe shall seek to work us oil. This is the devil, of course. His craft and power are great, and armed with cruel hate on earth is not his equal. That's the Martin Luther hymn. When I was going to judge the 16th century, 1483 to 1546. Martin Luther wrote. Christmas trees are barred from public places that they do not have sprinkler systems, so use a man-made Christmas tree. Do not go out and murder a tree. Okay, that's pretty good. 5, 6, and 7 groups. No, 6, 7, and 8 groups. And just to read you some of the events, good and bad, of 1996. Elmer Fulton, 93 years old, went to the United States District Court to witness a hearing that I had before Judge Block on Glendora versus Malone. I think that's wonderful. The United States Marshal's Service of all of the Glendora lawsuits in 1996, and Glendora versus Andrew K. DePaulo, who is a justice of the Supreme Court, County of Nassau, getting the stay, and John Sulich, and the 2 young youth, who came into our home and robbed $18 worth of toy money off the wall, thinking it was real. The sentencing for that is March the 7th. The party in the summertime at the Oak Beach Inn. We had 100 people at the party at the Oak Beach Inn for Americans for Legal Reform for Christmas. The Americans for Legal Reform meetings at the Sweet Hollow Library in Melville. Meeting Terry DeGreco and meeting Dolores and Dolores' son. It was fair that he has all these pain and illness with the dialysis. The stockbrokers at 1395 New York Avenue with pistachio cake, the green cake. We kept up with our red calls, 5 a day, asking people if they were able to advertise on television or Glendora TV ads. We kept up with our green calls, asking people if they were able to sponsor Glendora Triple Look at Life on network television. That's 30 seconds of jokes. Totally unable to do 100 calls a day, which is the quota, because of the lying and covering up and stealing and law breaking of cable TV operators, TCI, Cablevision, and Continental, eating nuts in the shell, getting nuts that are in the shell and shelling them. And we hit our lowest income ever in 1996, and Glendore's in former pauperous, and Nancy Crosby helped us get penny cats paid. I made every Thursday videotaping and editing at TCI until Bob Magnus robbed us of it on Halloween night, Perkle and Salisbury, and now we have to videotape Mondays instead of Thursdays because we edit at Cablevision Hicksville, Tuesdays, for which we're very, very thankful, very, very grateful. It was 11 degrees on December 31st, 1996, and sitting in the field those beautiful summer days. We have a field right next to us, right in downtown White Plains. Great thing. The leg came, that came from the oral arguments at the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, and every day I was able to do the meditation and creation and sing a hymn or listen to a hymn and exercise the body and go through the pink book. Every day I was managed to do that. Folks, you don't like that crackle in the microphone, and neither do I. Now what's going to happen? You have to get a new mic? Boy, if I have to get a new mic, I'll certainly get a wireless mic. I'd like to draw, I hope the crackle's better and gone away. I want to draw attention to you to the papers of Brian Sussman, who is a pro se and who has sued TCIO. And he's excellent. His papers are terrific. And he has really struck a bullseye with this case and telling Judge Bryan. It's before Judge Bryan. And this is plaintiff's rebuttal opposition to defendant's reply memorandum of law to plaintiff's opposition to defendant TCI's motion to dismiss. That's where it stands. That's the usual route it goes. It's Brian Sussman, pro se, plaintiff against Telecommunications Incorporated, also known as TCI Cable of Westchester, also known as TCI, defendant. And the case is 96 Civ 4786, Charles L. Bryan. And Sussman says, a defendant filed a paper entitled Defendant's Reply Memorandum of Law. That paper was filed unknown to the plaintiff and was unserved to the plaintiff until ordered so by Judge Honorable Charles L. Bryan on January 17, 1997, during what was supposed to be the motion's return date. At that time, Judge Bryant also stated that said defendant's reply memorandum of law was also filed without proof of service, and ordered defense attorney Paul Rapp and Joshua Kearney to immediately file an affidavit of service. Also at that time, Judge Bryant also noted the improper form of said defendant's reply memorandum of law, which without explanation was absent page numbering. And at this time, plaintiff would now like to point out the further absence of paragraph numbering. I think it's Rule 7, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Any lawyer ought to know that. He ought to know enough to number a paper. He ought to know enough to provide the court with an affidavit of service. But there are a bunch of amateurs, and there are a bunch of liars. There's no way in the world you can convince me that this rinky-dink law firm up in Albany, New York, Cohen and Dotz and Kearney and Wiles, before Wiles was bunched out on his Brutus Maximus, that they represent billionaire John Malone and billionaire Bob Magnus and 7 billionaire Telecommunications Incorporated, but that you have devious Judge Fox and devious Judge Draper saying, or letting them get by with it. Well, I'm not going to let them get by with it. I would like to read you more of Brian Sussman's papers. We keep them around here so they come up every week. He is an excellent writer, and he certainly knows the law, and he certainly expresses himself beautifully. Well, I still hear a crackle, and I still, and it weakens the audio. So I don't think we can use this. Yet when I do all the wires in here and wiggle them, I don't hear short. So I guess it's a problem for another week, and I'm going to use the panoramic microphone, the thing I was complaining about last week. To talk more loudly, I'm going to give this microphone one more try while I do these announcements for you, and then if that doesn't, if we still have static, even with talking loudly, we're going to have to give up on it and go to the panoramic mic. And I always thought that was a dumb thing that camcorder made. That Canon made a camcorder that didn't have an external mic. But Walter Leptow explains it to me. Well, it was the low end of the camcorders of that particular series, the E61. And I said, well, my VME1 certainly had an external mic. And he said, yeah, certainly, that was the top of the line. It goes back, my camcorder goes back to 1988, the two of them that I have. And I hope to pick up from Eddie Yamamoto this Tuesday, tomorrow, February 4th, my VME1 all fixed with the pinch roller and all the other things. I hope they're all fixed. I hope I can pick it up tomorrow. I want my own camcorders back, even though the other ones aren't beautiful. We resolved the Canon copier problem. We rented a Canon copier with a PC1. Is really needs help. Needs the doctor's help, and send it down to Jamesburg, New Jersey. That bothers me no end because Canon used to be right out in Jericho. And so we rented from Office Essentials up in Thornwood. Nice man, Bob. We rented a Canon 320 copier. Beautiful machine. We rented it for $75 for the month. See how that comes out. Here is an announcement. Did you see this about this partner of the law firm was indicted, federal indictment of law partners James Lysaght, L-Y-S-A-G-H-T, and Peter Kramer. Sent shockwaves yesterday throughout the Long Island law community. But I'm glad that they've caught some lawyers. So many lawyers do so many things wrong, and when they catch one, it's great news. And we have good news about Americans for Legal Reform. Their meetings now are Thursday nights in the Sweet Hollow Library in Melville. Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Last Thursday of every month. They claim that there were shenanigans from the Suffolk County Bar Association that kept them from meeting on their regular night Tuesdays, and that people would come and say, oh, this organization is folded on Tuesday and go away. But no, Thursday night they had wall-to-wall people, irate with the crookedness of lawyers. And the next morning they rallied against lawyers at the Cohalan Court Complex out in Iceland. Mary Werner, according to Carl Lancezera and Harvey Cash, asked the police to protect the Americans for Legal Reform against the court officers because allegedly the court officers, New York court officers, said they're out to get them. And of course, charges have been brought against Sergeant Manzillo by Harvey Cash, by Carl Lancezera, and by Julie Gambino. And the thing of issue now is that Sergeant Manzillo's wife is an assistant district attorney for Dennis Dillon. And so there's a lot of questions there. And on February 5th, there's a hearing before a judge at the Cohalan Court Complex. Anyhow, there were 27 police officers there, and they had, I am told, a difficult time keeping a straight face and not laughing at the remarks of Harvey Cash and his bullhorn and about the Gucci shoes and the $350 suits and the $3,000 of billable time that they bring in on the wheels, you know. And Carl Lancezera was wearing a black robe. And so there were 8 people rallying, and Dr. Crowley said that some of the rallying was good talk to the policeman. And the policeman, one policeman asked her, don't you have something better to do? She said, yes, I'm a surgeon. Lawyers call Americans for Legal Reform. And if you have problems with judges, call the Center for Judicial Accountability Incorporated. And I would like to make this announcement that we want our own public access channel, no more shared telecare. It is our right to have our own public access channel, and we must watch these towns, villages, when they renew their cable vision franchises. We must watch them carefully and make sure that our rights for public access are protected by the municipalities in the franchises. There are still problems with the opening and with the closing, but everybody all over is saying that the production is getting better, it's improving, and so you just have to stick with it, folks. Remember, I'm grateful to be editing at Cablevision, but I'm doing it all by myself, and I have to figure out everything all by myself. And so that takes a little while, if it's going to happen at all. Becky Carley comes over on Tuesdays and for an hour or so, and I teach her how to edit. I pass the word on. A lawyer is a liar for hire. That's got to be a new slate, and also no more shared telecare. We want our own public access channel. Stay tuned Mondays at 10 p.m. Channel 25 coming up soon for Einhorn and the public access movement. If you come over to 111 New South Road on a Tuesday, I might be able to meet you in person. I'm there every Tuesday editing. And last Tuesday, January 28th, I started at 10:30 in the morning. I didn't get through until 8:30 in the evening. Pulled out the close-up microphone, and now we're on the panoramic microphone. I hope we don't have that static, and I'll have to talk loudly, I guess, and find out what this problem is later after we finish the videotaping. This is the TCI file. This is Glendora versus Malone, Magnus and Telecommunications Incorporated, and this is volume 39. So the first thing I'll do is get out the stats. That's the best place to start. Breaking, lying, and covering up, stealing, and cheating of John C. Malone, Bob Magnus, and Telecommunications Incorporated, of Ben Wiles, of Joshua Noah Koenig, and of Bertram Perkle, and Ann Salisbury, and Judge Jones, and Judge Rakoff, and Magistrate Fox, and have cost us, the worst of all, William C. Connor, have cost us $4,863.46 in print and postage and rip-off court stenographer fees, and it has cost us 2,092 hours. You multiply that by $250 an hour, which is what lawyers, monopoly, the crooks, rip the public off for. 2,092 hours times $200 per hour is $523,000. That's $500,000. videotaping. This is the TCI file. This is Glendora versus Malone, Magnus and Telecommunications Incorporated, and this is volume 39. So the first thing I'll do is get out the stats. That's the best place to start. Law-breaking, lying and covering up, stealing and cheating of John C. Malone, Bob Magnus and Telecommunications Incorporated, of Ben Wiles, of Joshua Noah Koenig, and of Bertram Perkle and Ann Salisbury, and Judge Jones and Judge Rakoff and Magistrate Fox, and have cost us, the worst of all, William C. Connor, have cost us $4,863.46 in print and postage and rip-off court stenographer fees, and it has cost us 2,092 hours. Multiply that by $250 an hour, which is what lawyers, luckily the crooks, rip the public off for. 2,092 hours times $200 per hour is $523,000. That's $500,000 worth of legal labor. 131 chapters on TV of Malone, Magnus, Telecommunications, law-breaking, lying, and cover-up. 187 mailings, 39 volumes, 11,486 pages, 4 file drawers of Malone, Magnus, traitorship to America. It's there, and I don't know what we can do about it. We just got to go on with it, and we'll have to resolve it later after the videotaping is done and the editing is done. The static is there, and I'm sorry. This is the latest Glendora versus John C. Malone paper. It was completed yesterday, Sunday. It took 17 hours, folks, and it took $93. And this is the appeal of the atrocious decision by one Jet S. Randolph, who no longer can get a chat with Glendora in Larchmont, where he lives. That doesn't bother him at all. It's an out-and-out murder of free speech and of public access rights. This is the appellant's brief excoriating his decision. It's 50 pages long, and this is the book of exhibits, and the file itself is this big. I gotta go out of the TV screen. It's 4 file drawer boxes full. Okay. And this is going to the United States Court of Appeals today by UPS. The correct caption is Glendora versus John C. Malone, Bob Magnus, Telecommunications Incorporated, and Brendan Costin, Robert Thompson, Barry Marshall, Donnie A. Fisher, John W. Gallivan, Kim Magnus, who is the son of Bob Magnus, Robert F. Nafee, Paul J. O'Brien, Brian Sullivan, Scott Brown, Mary Magarelli, John Wicker, Nona Carey Dunn, Miles Rich, and any other John and Jane Doe defendants may claim as a necessary party, and UACC Columbia Cablevision of Westchester Incorporated, DBA TCI of Westchester. What did Jed S. Brown do wrong? What did Jed S. Rakoff do wrong? He said it is okay for John C. Malone to murder public access. JSR betrayed America, its Constitution, and its Congress. JSR violated Title 47 of the United States Code 531E. No cable operator can exercise editorial control over public access. JSR said it's okay to put commercials on a public access channel. Judge Coates said it is not. Thus we have the schizophrenia in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Translated, this means they don't know what they're doing. Glendora has a right to have her case located at JSR. Jed S. Rakoff robs her of her defendants. Jed S. Rakoff Glendora of her caption. Now this is after bias and prejudice magistrate Mark D. Fox tells Glendora June 18, 1946. In court, he will leave Glendora's caption alone just as you put it. This order appears in the docket. Caption will stay as it is. But when Glendora back his turn, M.J. Fox goes back on his word and changes the caption. And Jed S. Rakoff comes along and okays the double cross. Shouldn't a U.S. magistrate of all people be able to keep it? A U.S. magistrate of all people be able to keep his word? No, let me tell you that the worst liars and lawbreakers that we have in this country are the lawyers and judges in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, in your circuit. And while violating Congress on Title 47 of the United States Code 521, etc., Judge Jed S. Rakoff thinks nothing of the state legislature, Article 28, Executive Law, Section 829.3, the state analog, that no cable operator shall exercise editorial control over public use of channels. This is the public's channel. And Jed S. Rakoff violated Title 9, New York Code Rules and Regulation 545.4. No cable operator shall exercise editorial control over public use of channel. And while he's at it, he might as well break another law, Article 28, New York Executive Law, Section 826. 6 months' notice shall be given for a discontinuance of any service. Isn't it interesting? Didn't you think that the United States District Judges were there to enforce the law, not to break it? Judge Rakoff says it's okay to be, that WRNN must carry is going on our system-wide public access channel 8. It is not on there yet, and never has been since we were robbed of our system-wide public access channel 8 on May 1st, 1996, Glendore's 68th birthday. United States Code Title 47, 521, etc. makes it clear that no commercials can appear on a public access channel, but Jed S. Rakoff defied Congress. It is really heartening when a United States District Judge coddles the liars and the lawbreakers and injures the innocent and already injured. That's worth $130 a year of our taxpayers' money. That's worth $33 million in the Corpus courthouse to house such traitors to their country. This is, quote, for liberty and justice for all, unquote. No, only for the crooks, is it? And Ben Wiles, liar for hire, what any lawyer is, cheated, lied, and stole all through the whole thing, December 1995 to Veterans Day 1996, when this decision came out. Then Ben Wiles got bounced, just what he deserved, ejected as a partner from Cohen Dax in Albany. He never did represent Glendora's defendants. Now he does not represent Cohen Dax. Is it logical that a rinky-dink law firm, Cohen Dax in Albany, is going to represent billionaires John C. Malone, Bob Magnus, and $7 billion Telecommunications Incorporated? And this circuit, it could not, okay, a worse fumbler bumbler than Ben Wiles, said Ed, quote, on Van Graeflin to him when Wiles walked up to the lectern in room 1701, can't you tell us your name without reading it off a piece of paper? And at that conference, folks, Van Graeflin was physically, well, he was going downhill. And Mahoney, of course, was his jovial, laughing self. And I just felt that Van Graeflin might never make it to another United States District Court conference. I mean a United States Court of Appeals oral argument. But it was Mahoney who didn't make it. He had an accident in his home and died. It is reasonable that Baker and Boss may represent Magnus, Malone, and TCI. We shareholders gave Baker and Boss $10 million in 1995. Baker is the former Secretary of State and former Secretary of the Treasury. But the worst lie, J. Rakoff copycatted lawbreakers Malone, Magnus, Telecommunications Incorporated, is that they did not murder public access. That public access is still available on the discrete municipal channels in 18 Westchester communities. Read these letters from the supervisors of these municipalities and shudder how loathsomely the United States District Judge, Southern District of New York, Rakoff, and United States Magistrate Judge Fox lied. They had copies of these letters. We must read these letters marked A1 to A50 in the Federal Judicial Center book, the Federal Appellate Judiciary in the 21st century. The appellate judge's essays and speeches admit you do not read the record. Your decisions obviously attest to the same. Viewing you from the outside, Glendora found out you judges had enough problems as it was. But reading this book of essays and speeches of you judges, one to another, reveals an avalanche of more problems, tripling those Glendora had noted on TV. And she is only up to page 150 out of 300. I finished that book, folks. And by the way, I think that was the last of the books and tapes that the Federal Judicial Center sent me way back in September of 1995, all the way up to 1997, February. I finished them all. I could only read 15 minutes a day. These liars and thieves and cheats taking so much of my time out of our lives. But I finished them. And now, today, I've started, I resumed my study of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. And today I studied Rules 60, 61, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's a great thing to have finished that. Your problem of increased caseload carries from so many wrong decisions by so many bad district judges like J.S. Rakoff and atrocious magistrates like Mark D. Fox. If they had good judges in the district court, they wouldn't have so many appeals. Therefore, they wouldn't have such a big caseload. Page 6. And you whip away from your supervisory role of the same, the way the United States Supreme Court whips away from its supervisory role of you. And Jed S. Rakoff, freshman as of March 4th, 1996, is the autistic judge. He smashed Glendora's rights so badly she went to the people outside the $33 million White Plains U.S. courthouse, chanted, billboarded, videotaped, distributed these flyers, and talked to pedestrians, and they all agreed with her about judges. J. Rakoff dumps everything on a magistrate judge and loses touch with the case. Meanwhile, the file stacks to a dizzying height, where it becomes so unmanageable nobody can review it and see the injustice that has been done. Out of this comes J. Rakoff's overdependence on Magistrate Fox, and since JSR is so dependent on MDF, JSR does not dare to cross it. When Mark D. Fox writes a report and recommendation to dismiss, JSR simply copycats it like a schoolboy. And this is how Mark D. Fox and JSR murdered public access in 18 communities in Westchester and betrayed America. Glendora, meanwhile, files a grievance against Mark D. Fox, a Section 28, it should be titled 28, Section 372C action. She reads 2 huge black 3-ring binders in the clerk's office of the United States Court of Appeals, filled with inane decisions by John Newman. Not one decision in the 1995 book and not one in the 1996 book is in favor of the complainant. All of the decisions are in favor of the judges. John Newman applauds interference with the business of the courts by judges. He writes these by rote. Glendora can recite them by rote, right up to Duckworth. That's a case he always puts in the last paragraph. John Newman is out. He resigned, and I take credit for that. Glendora asked Mark D. Fox to recuse 4 times. He has not even answered the last 2. Isn't this good judgmentship to ignore a Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 144? And Rakoff Fox robbed Glendora of a trial. They robbed her of Rule 38, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, right to trial to be held inviolate. They robbed me of my 7th Amendment right to a trial, because they dismissed the case before it got to a trial. A jury should decide the facts. That is the domain of a jury, not of a judge, especially 2 biased and prejudiced judges like Rakoff and Fox. Toss in Connor also. A federal court is to protect federal rights. The record for Glendora versus Malone by the time lethargic J.S. Rakoff gets around to doing his work is in the U.S. Court of Appeals. And Rakoff dismisses Glendora's case without having read the record. Isn't this competent judgmentship? The record did not get back to the United States District Court, White Plains, until after the odious decision was spat out on Veterans Day. We're up to page 9. Yes, this was the Veterans Day double cross that betrayed all veterans, America's free speech and press. Franklin went D-Day to VE Day, Normandy to Weimar, offering all he had to be gypped by Rakoff and Fox. Are you going to correct this, United States Court of Appeals? It is your raison d'etre to do so. Yesterday, January the 24th, 1997, Friday, Glendora talked to Paul Feiner, supervisor of the town of Greenburg. The biggest town TCI robbed of public access system-wide Channel 8 and of TV public access production. Supervisor Feiner's outrage is expressed in exhibits Alpha Glendora asked you to read. Back on within page 4. Did you? Glendora asked Paul, how come the courts are letting TCI get by with the crime of robbing our public access Channel 8 and our public access TV production? And Feiner was a heavy user of both. And Feiner's answer is for him to file a paper to you people in support of Glendora's appellant brief. I'll help you, Paul said. Ergo, Glendora will be making a T-1080 motion for you to grant leave. Will you? Now, what Sussman says about TCI's lying to you all about robbing us of system-wide public access Channel 8 and of public access TV production. 46, paragraph 46, first off, Glendora prefaces this with a reminder to you that every other cable TV system in your circuit added must carry without touching public access. Public access transmission and videotape production is intact in every other system. So you see, here and now, that TCI is and was lying, and so are Fox and Rakoff. Are you going to do something about this and reverse Rakoff's ripoff? Now that's page 10. Next week I hope to read you some more. That's the appellant's brief for the United States Court of Appeals to vacate and reverse. It would be better to reverse Judge Rakoff's unpatriotic order that it was okay for TCI to rob us of public access Channel 8, to murder public access, to murder free speech, free press, and a public forum. This notice from the United States Court of Appeals is that Ben Wiles is a liar for all these people. Excuse me, the lawyer. Glendora. Ben Wiles has been canned as a partner of Cohen Dax. He is out as of December 1st, 1996, as he misrepresented all along. He was the attorney for my defendants. He misrepresents now that he is the attorney in my appeal. Defendants are not represented, are in default, and owe Glendora $350 million. That's the first TCI lawsuit, now in the United States Court of Appeals. The second one was outrageous. I believe that D'Amato told Jones exactly what to say because Jones ruled on no law and no facts and no merits. Barbara S. Jones, former United States attorney. Bad quality. And so she can't even get around to ordering that she's not going to give me a reversal of judgment, that she's not going to reverse her decision on the censorship case when William E. Connor was caught red-handed, ex parte, and it was being cablecast over TCI, and TCI turned off the audio. That's the second case, Glendora versus Telecommunications, and Barbara S. Jones did a rotten job on that. It's a public disgrace. She can't even get around to making an order that she isn't going to give me relief from her terrible judgment so that I can appeal it. So I have to get after her. Now the third case is Glendora versus Magnus, and that's before that devious Mark E. Fox, magistrate, who messed up everything on Glendora versus Malone, why I have to appeal it. And the defendants were supposed to get in opposition Friday, January 31st, to my motion for summary judgment. They were supposed to get it in, but they didn't. And they have made a motion to dismiss, and I got my opposition in 5 or 6, 7 days sooner than it had to be in. So where does that stand now? Well, I don't have to do anything until I get oppositions from them or a reply affidavit from their motion to dismiss. I don't have to do anything. They will probably send in wacky, disjointed papers because they have no defense and never will have a defense. They have to go to other courts and rely on other situations because they don't have anything to defend themselves with. It was a good article. I showed it to you in the Wall Street Journal where Malone says, I take the blame for everything. And so Fox and Rakoff and Connor and Wiles and Kearney and all those liars are wrong. And it wasn't a Malone decision. And they were wrong to take Malone out of my case when he is the one who's responsible. So is that it for TCI? I believe it is. Paul said that he used to watch golf on TV, but his doctor told him to get more exercise. So now he watches tennis. And Annette said, I knew that it was going to be a good day when I walked into the supermarket and I got a grocery cart and all of the wheels were going in the same direction. And the judge said to his caddy on the golf course, Caddy, why do you keep looking at your watch? And the caddy said, this isn't a watch, sir, it's a compass. About all the other lawsuits, I decided to change the power pack, see if that will get rid of the static. Yes, we have a landlord-tenant fight going on. Water, every time it rains, there's water in the cellar, and you have to travel through the water to go do your laundry and to go into your storage bin. And there are no smoke detectors. And I've got to see if the place has a certificate of occupancy, and if you're a renter, you must see that too. And also, you've got to fight for rent control because Bruno wants to get rid of rent control because of the greedy landlords, and of course the legislators are getting paid high money to hurt you and to ruin your rent control. Join the New York Tenants Association. It's in Manhattan. Michael McGee is the wonderful driving force of that association. Go to Albany and protest it. And there's a couple of other things too. Oh yeah, junk is stored in the common areas, 2 bicycles, 2 air conditioners, and Caesar, whom I love, his stuff should be in its own bin. The landlord is wrong not to have a superintendent. The multiple residence law says that any complex that's 13 or more units has to have a superintendent on the premises or one who lives no more than 200 feet away. And so I've been talking to our building commissioner, Bill Pisani, about that, and I have great admiration for Bill Pisani. So where is Glendora versus Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin? I have got them in the United States Supreme Court. They were the neighbors who thought they could violate all your rights and insult you and abuse you and harass you and intimidate you and vandalism, all those things, vandalize you and get away with it. But I showed them that they couldn't. The Larkins have moved and the Walshes have moved, and the Alpuccis don't bother us the least bit. Moving on to the next fight is the Fund for Modern Courts. Elizabeth Hubbard, Michelle Mayapak, Alan Beck. Whatever you do, do not monitor for the Fund for Modern Courts. I monitored for them, and they went back on your agreement to write a report. We did it all for nothing. In the winter, and all those miles, and all we paid for our printing and our postage. They didn't pay for any of it, for our parking and wear and tear in the car. We donated them all those hours, and then they turn around, and I sued Elizabeth Hubbard and the rest of them for breach of contract for going back on their word. And she, a reform organization, broke all the court rules and broke the New York statutes left and right. I think that's hypocritical. And so she got a judge to get a $4,800 judgment against me. And I have that case in the United States Supreme Court. Moving on, we have Glendora versus Stead, who said Glendora went through a red light and she didn't. And then the appellate term, when the Judge Friedman trial was so crooked and so corrupt, and I appealed the appellate term, and they acted so badly, and they broke all kinds of rules. And so I appealed to the New York State Court of Appeals, and my judge on that is no other than the Chief Judge of the State of New York, Judith King. So the other side has a couple of weeks to submit their opposition to what I submitted. What else is there? The youth who came through a window and robbed. Sentencing, March the 7th, before Judge Ricardo, Westchester County Court, criminal court. I want to say that the Westchester County District Attorney's Office, Janine Pirro, puts out a wonderful program to help victims of crime and gives the victims an opportunity to speak and gives the victims an opportunity to present their damages, both emotional, personal, monetary, before the robbers are sentenced. So it's a very good program, and we commend the District Attorney's Office for that. I guess I'll have to read you my speech, but let's wait until around March 7th. What a statement I'm going to make before Judge Ricardo. We have a witness to the landlord spitting in Glendora's face, or at least hearing the altercation, the oral altercation. And I got to call Sergeant Davis at the White Plains Police to tell him I have a witness. At the time I didn't. What else is going on? The phony gas leak. The United States District Court is not doing its job on that. They should have appointed a judge on it long ago and granted the informer papyrus. And nothing has happened to that. That's again malicious prosecution by the White Plains Police and the White Plains Fire Department, saying that my venerable 1980 Lincoln was leaking gas in the library parking underground route when it wasn't. And they towed it all the way to Hartsdale. So, no word on that. I believe that's all the cases. I think you're up to date on them all. I wrote to Eugene McGrath, the CEO of Con Edison. He's an alumnus of Chatliff Glendora. He was on Chatliff Glendora. He was very good. And I said, Dear Gene, our gas electric bill has gone from $52 per month to $68 per month since 1993 December. That's an increase of 31%. I don't think that is good and right and fair. Can you do anything to help us? Here's the joke of the day. What happens when you cross a termite and a praying mantis? You get a bug that says a prayer before you eat your house. This is the Screwball Commission on Judicial Conduct. They ought to be canned. Save this tax. Okay, next thing I'm worried to mess this up. I never can get this straight. Okay. And now I turn this off of here. What's the matter now?
You have just put data points. Where's the next bit of video you want?
Well, let me stop everybody. He didn't want to face. He knew that I was going to bring up the things that he was doing wrong, and he didn't want to face it. Furthermore, he didn't want the lawyers that were filling up the courtroom to hear me bawl him out. That was undesignated magistrate, Mark D. Fox. After that, we went to Bryant, United States District Judge, Southern District of New York, and heard Sussman versus TCI. Sussman is always won over these dippy lawyers, these hicks that come down from Albany, and he won all over them. And Bryant bawled out these lawyers for all kinds of things. Not serving on time, not paginating their memorandum, not serving on time. Now, we have other things to report to you about crooked lawyers and corrupt judges. You can pick up your free Glendora Happy Book at 111 New South Road in Hicksville, New York. And if you come on a Tuesday, you can meet Glendora in person. And we have a new slate. We're going to put up a new slate, A Lawyer is a Liar for Hire. Here's a letter to Claire Schulman, President of the Borough of Queens, 12055 Queens Boulevard, Kew Gardens, New York, 11424. Her telephone number is 718-286-3000. My dear President Schulman, Glendora and TV audience, that's you, would be very pleased by your designating one of the buildings of Fort Totten for a pro se library. Also, such a building would provide a gathering place for us pro ses and help us with networking. We would extol you weekly on TV. The pro se movement is swelling, as is the public access movement. Glendora is on 14 cable systems in Long Island, Manhattan, Westchester, and Rockland. She has a Queens lawyer sponsor for QP-TV, that's Queens Public TV. But she needs time to maturate the privilege. Here's today's joke. What do you call a miniature guppy? Right, a microfiche. Yours in truth, Glendora. You are the queen of the queens. And I'm disgusted with Prisco, John Prisco. And I'm disgusted with John Prisco. I wanted him to fix my Canon camcorder pinch roller, and he's never there. And then you leave a message for him to call back, and he never calls back. So I'm through with John Prisco, and he's the person that I bought these two Canon camcorders from. One paid $1,800 for it, and the other one I paid $1,500, and that was back in 1988. And now he doesn't pay any attention. I have something to read to you from the Center for Judicial Accountability. Let's see, the camera shut itself off. We had a lot of problems with that. I'll just tell you about it. It's because